So there's a bunch of parts, a bunch of upgrades that I hate for the Q50, and I actually made a video about that not too long ago, so check that video out. I'll put a link in the description below if I can remember, but there are certainly 3, maybe 4, we'll say 4, but 2 are kind of attached parts or upgrades that you can make to the Q50 that are super overrated in my opinion. It's going to be an interesting video. Hopefully I don't hurt too many feelings, but stick around. Let's get into this. If you guys have been following along for any length of time, you'll probably be able to guess what this part is, but my first most overrated part on the list is cold air intakes for the Q50. I don't need to go too deep into this one because I've done multiple videos on this, and by now the dyno numbers speak for themselves. The dollar to horsepower increase ratio is just not to my liking. It's just not acceptable. We're talking $400 or $500 for a good set of cold air intakes for just a couple of horsepower difference between just basic AFE drop-in filters, for crying out loud. If you want to spend the money, get the Takeda cold air intakes that use the factory air boxes to keep the hot air out of the intake system. But again, you're spending $400-500 for just a couple of horsepower. Just don't make sense to me. Number 2 on the list, and this one is sort of in combination with the first one, and I gotta actually make a dedicated video to this one. An overrated upgrade to make is those the big mouth air ducts, big mount, whatever they're called. You know, they go in your grill and they mount in, and they're supposed to direct air up to the intakes. Overrated. We'll talk about that in a future video. Stick around. Now we're at number 3. I'm gonna tell you number 4 might surprise you, and you probably won't. A lot of you probably won't like it. I'll try to explain myself. Hear me out. I hate that phrase. Anyway, number 3 on the list, I'm going to say Motordyne exhaust. I know a lot of people love their Motordyne catback systems. Super overrated. I think I included this in my most hated upgrades for the Q50. This is another dollar to benefit ratio thing. And I've been hearing a lot lately that Motordyne quality has gone down significantly over the last 18-24 months or so, with a lot of welds breaking and things like that. But for the price you're spending, the gains you're getting, and the sound, I mean, we're still getting a little bit of rasp from the VQ, especially with test pipes. It just doesn't make sense to me. You're spending way too much for something that you just don't get a lot of benefit from. And number four, a lot of people ask me about this one, and it's just never been a priority, and this is the reason why. Number 4 on the list is, it only applies to the non-sport guys. Because I'm going to say the number 4 and probably the most overrated upgrade is the sport bumper. Yeah, I agree. The sport bumper looks better than the non-sport bumper. I'm not denying that. What I'm saying is the upgrade from the non-sport bumper to the sport bumper is overrated. I mean, it's quite expensive to make the upgrade, and then the difference really isn't all that much. I mean, the non-sport bumper with a good splitter, a good looking front splitter, actually looks really decent. It adds the depth, it adds the contour, it adds the more aggressive nature to the front end of the non-sport. I think that's all you need. And then that only costs you $100-150 or so. Like I said, I admit the sport bumper does look better than the non-sport bumper. What I don't like is that people have the sport bumper that already looks good itself, and then they put these massive front splitters on it. Now, there are some tasteful front splitters for the sport bumper, but now we're like, it just doesn't match the rest of the car when you go too aggressive. You have this big old wide front face on the Q50, and the rest of the car is just kind of like, eh. So it's just weird to me. I like the non-sport bumper with a front splitter. That looks good. It looks aggressive enough. I mean, I've been pleased with the look. There's been no reason, and I get that question all the time. When are you going to consider upgrading to the sport bumper? Well, first of all, I don't really consider it that much of an upgrade because it doesn't look all that much better. And for $700 to $1,000, there's a lot more you can do to the Q50. Now we're talking lightweight rotors, 2-piece lightweight rotors that are going to actually benefit the car. You can get a nice set of tires, or take a good chunk out of a nice set of tires with $700 to $1,000. You could do the Speed Culture custom catback system for $700 easily. Again, don't get too mad at me. All I'm saying is that there are a lot more beneficial upgrades that can be made. There are a lot more ways of spending that money better than upgrading from the non-sport to the sport bumper. So it doesn't necessarily apply to everybody, because all of you with the sport bumper, you don't got to worry about it. But the most overrated upgrade, I'm going to say, is the non-sport bumper to the sport bumper. Let me know in the comment section below what you guys think are some of the most overrated upgrades or most overrated parts installed in the Q50s these days. I'm always interested in knowing what you guys' thoughts are. If you have any other questions about any parts really related to the Q50s, particularly the VQ37, I have a lot of videos uploaded to this channel already. If you're new to the channel, you might want to consider checking them out. I appreciate you following along, and I really, really appreciate you subscribing. So do it if you haven't done it already. Thank you guys very much for watching this video. We'll see you in the next one.